Welcome everyone. Let's start today's class. I guess we have some stuff remaining. We have some stuff remaining for this. So we'll go through that as well. I'm sharing handouts with you all. Let's just quickly go through them. Am I audible to every one of you? Okay, so let's start today's class. We have something remaining in our from our previous classes, but so we'll first go through that specific portion, and then I'm going to move forward with today's agenda. There's something which is remaining to the previous class. So let's just first go through that portion, and then we'll be moving towards the next portion. Okay, so it says over here, we have gone through the different parts. I guess we have done the code of ethics, we have done logo company, we have gone through the chairman, NED board, remuneration, diversity, family owned company, examination question number 1, DCS company. I guess I've given you this question and we have solved it as well, right? In our previous class, have we solved question number 1B? Or we did? Yes, we have done question number 1B. Basically, let's just quickly move forward from the internal control system part, and then we will be going through another. Then we'll be going through another form of organization. It says that internal control system and internal control system. You all must have gone through the internal control system. Okay, in tomorrow's class, we will be going through the remaining 2-3 topics of our regular course, which include Bell-Ridge model and some other models as well. Secondly, we are also going to go through 2 new articles that the ACCA examining body have issued, and we'll be going through those 2 articles. So I hope so. You are well aware that the ACCA have introduced 2 different articles for this specific attempt, and it is a norm. It is a historic norm of ACCA that whenever they announce such articles, they are normally testing from these articles. So I assume that they are going to test from these articles more precisely, but it is just an educated guess. Again, it's not something which is hard and fast rule of ACCA that if they have issued any article, they are going to test it there and then from in that article for that specific attempt. Secondly, these articles are very important. There are 28 other articles as well. But do we need to go through them? The basic knowledge is that if you want, you can go through them once, maybe while going for your bedtime, and you are, just having a skim on those articles, because these articles are around 200 pages. So it's not a good approach or a good strategy to go through these articles. But however, we are going to go through the remaining 2 articles by my own self. And what I'll do is I'll also make a detailed video on those articles so that you guys have a better insight regarding the articles that have been given by ACCA. Information technology services. Right, let's just quickly move forward. Internal control system. An internal control system comprises of the whole organization network of systems established in the organization to provide a reasonable assurance that the organization's objective will be achieved and the asset will be safeguarded. Purpose, importance, and advantages of internal control system. What is the purpose of internal control system? What are the advantages of internal control system? The first and the foremost advantage is the achievement of organizational objective. There are certain objectives of an organization that are being achieved with the help of internal control system, and obviously the overall strategic aim of an organization is being dealt when we are going through the internal control system. I guess I'm not going way too fast, and my audibility is also very clear because the language that I'm using right now, I guess it is something which is going into your mind and your ears as well. 1.5. Yes. 1.5 second. Good. So it's multiplied by 1.5 right now. Okay. Actually, I've got a very good English, so maybe Okay. Okay, let's just quickly move forward. Orderly and efficient conduct of the business. Then we are conducting the business orderly and efficiently with the help of internal control system. Assurance to the board to discharge of their corporate governance responsibility. We are providing assurance to the board as well in regard with the dischargement of corporate governance responsibilities. Mitigate a risk faced by the organization. What we try to do, we try to mitigate or we try to reduce the risk that the organization is facing. Obviously, risk elimination is not something which is possible in reality, but however, risk mitigation or reducing the risk to an acceptable level is obviously possible in every circumstances, but with the help of internal control system, right? uh, Safeguarding of assets. Yes, we are going to safeguard our asset with the help of internal control system. Actually, it is not the making of internal control system, but the effectiveness and efficiency of internal control system, and that specific effectiveness or that specific efficiency is being maintained with the help of the internal audit department as well. Accurate and timely reporting both to the external and internal stakeholders, completeness and accuracy of accounting records, uh, and then prevention of fraud and error. You need to prevent your fraud, you need to prevent your errors in order to safeguard the company's amount of profitability. uh, Compliance with a regulatory and legal requirement. In order to abide laws, in order to follow the laws, you need to comply with the law and regulatory requirement or standards. Provide reliable information to the board that enables them to go for the proper decision making purposes. So these are the factors that are going to contribute towards the internal control system. This is something which we had done in our previous class. Now this is something which I was talking about in my regular classes as well. Again, use tabular format. Internal control weakness and recommendation. Whenever you are going to be asked by the examiner to provide recommendation and internal control weakness. Okay, so the examiner can even ask you to provide internal control and its impact. So same scenario is going to be followed. If the examiner is asking you to write about the internal control and write about the impact, now this means that you are going to assume 3 marks for 1 valid point. However, if the examiner is asking you that he wants to have the weaknesses, he wants to go through the controls as well as the impacts, he will be awarding you 4 marks for 1 valid point. Now, I assume this is going to be the easiest question, and right now I'm saying it in front of you guys. Trust me, you're going to solve this question right now. We will be solving it together. I'll be reading this out. You guys are going to identify the weaknesses, and you will be making the answer to these weaknesses in next half an hour. And this is going to be your bestest written answer. Why? Because this is something which is the most easiest one. So yes, uh, you need to pray that you get such an answer or such a question in your examination. Okay, so this is the topic that we are going to go through. Internal control weakness. Do you have co-fold company question of 3A and 3B? Okay. Yes, please take out that handout of question number 3A and 3B of co-fold construction company.
On behalf of this investor, that's right on behalf of sales manager. अगर हम लोग एक्सटर्नल कंसल्टेंट हैं, हम टू में सेल्स मैनेजर
टू में ना
हाँ नहीं टू में हम बोलो डायरेक्टर लिखेंगे और फ्रॉम में हम इसके बिहाफ पर लिखना वो लिखेंगे
ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ है तो यस टू फ्रॉम सेल्समैन। ये मैं आपको एक एग्जामिनर आंसर भी दिखा देता हूं, तसल्ली हो जाएगी। Okay, please take out the Cofold Construction Company handout. Have I given you the text of question number 3A and 3B? Okay, let's start the Cofold Construction Company question. I'm going to read the entire question and I'll be discussing it with you all, and you are going to help me in drafting the answer. And once we decided to draft the answer, and once we have decided to draft an answer, what we are going to do, you are going to do it reliably as it was given to you in the examination format. I'll be timing you out for this question just in order to see that you are able to do this question in the specific time that has been given to you, right? So I want each and every one of you to write the answer of this question once I say to start writing, but we will be discussing. So right now, the exercise that I'm doing right now is in accordance with the reading, planning, and reflective time. And once you start writing, that will be your writing time. So I'll be providing you 1.8 minutes per mark. So that is going to be the strategy, and you will be marked in accordance with the time that you have invested in writing such an answer. So I'll be checking in front of you and I'll be giving you a review on your answer. And trust me, right now I'm saying this, that this is going to be the bestest written answer of the entire practice questions that you have done till now. So you have to do this, right? So today your confidence is going to boost to an extreme level, I assume. Okay. Achievement unlocked. Let's start this. Okay, let's start with the introduction. Hamza, better. With मोहब्बत की निशानियां भी होंगी. Cofold Construction Company is a listed construction company. Its head office is in the capital. You need to be very much concentrated. Its head office is in the capital city, Lemberthaza, one of the country of Omega Land. Omega Land has two neighboring countries, Elfia and Beetle. The countryside is in both Elfia and Omega Land is generally flat. In Beetle, there is a large range of mountains. Now, one of the most alarming questions that I received day before yesterday was, sir, in this specific question, do we need to write about Beetle country, Elfia country, or about Omega Land? Now, that was a surprising question for me as well. Out of my experience of total 5 to 6 years, I have never seen such a question. See, it is very obvious in this question that what you need to write in the specific exam. You are also be able to guess that which country am I talking about and which country will be writing about. So make sure that you do not have such a, let's suppose, question in your mind, or maybe such an ambiguity in your mind right now. Omega Land has two neighboring countries, Elfia and Beetle. The countryside in both Elfia and Omega Land is generally flat. In Beetle, there is a large range of mountainian. The Izanardi Mountains, which separates its eastern region from the rest of the country. All three countries use the same currency, dollar. Now, after reading this paragraph, I am not evident enough that which country are we talking about, or which country does this specific thing relates to. CC core business is to provide support services such as upgrade of electricity networks and road renewals and maintenance. In all three countries, however, it has also undertaken road construction projects of increasing size and complexity. Initially, CC carried out most of its major construction projects in Omega Land. Its biggest project there being a ring road around the city of Lemberthaza. CC has also started to develop a portfolio in Elfia. The biggest development there being a road between Phi City and Tautau, which was completed in 2000. Now, this is just an introduction. You are not going to find out mistakes or weaknesses in this introduction. To date, CC has not carried out any road construction project in Beetle. However, an opportunity has arisen for CC to tender for construction of a major road in Beetle, which would be the biggest project which CC has undertaken to date. I guess this scenario might relate to project management as well. The following exhibits provide information relevant to CC. Now, we don't need to go through these exhibits. However, in today's class, we are going to go through the part B of this handout first, and then we'll be talking about the part A as well. So first, I'm going to go through the part B. Question number 3. It is now July 2002, 3 months after CC began construction of a new road in Beetle. You are Pet Singh, a consultant employed by CC's board. Now, who you are? Consultant. Your name is? Patson. You are in actual an external person. It seems, see, a consultant employed by the board. is not a consultant of an internal capacity. He is the consultant of an external capacity, because board work is not to hire employee. If he would have been a part of internal employment of the company, it would have written that he has been hired by the management. So over here it says he's been hired by the board. Board hire individuals for providing consultancy of work or providing the appropriateness or giving a scrutinizing effect of the work so that they can provide a report to the shareholders. So do you get this? Now this is something which was smart, let's suppose, pick from this question. Majority of students considered this to be the internal consultant, right? You have just left the emergency meeting regarding the incident at the construction site and are responding to the request made by CC's chairman IB at the end of the meeting. Required. You need to prepare part B. Part B says you need to prepare a confidential memo. Again, the part A is being followed downwards. A summary of CC's board review assessing control weaknesses discussed at the emergency meeting, stating for each control weaknesses its consequences and recommendation. Now, how many columns are you going to make? 3 columns. And how many marks? 18 marks. So this means 4 marks for one specific right answer. Now, 18 divided by 4 means at least 5 points. At least 5 points. It makes 20, but obviously you need to give at least 5 points in order to give a correct answer. Right? Is it clear to every one of you? Professional marks are available for demonstrating evaluation skills. So what you're going to do after making the 3 columnar format, you will write a paragraph concluding the above weaknesses. Now, how are you going to conclude? If these weaknesses are dealt on quick basis, this is going to give a boost to the company's overall growth strategy, and not only in terms of financial, but will also bring some goodwill to the company being a strong internal control operated company. So this means that you're going to evaluate it as well. You will be evaluating this in the perspective of, providing a better opportunity to the company. So you're going to write the answer by making a memo with a 3 columnar format, and after you are done, you have to write at least 1 or 2 lines regarding the above stated weaknesses and its control. Is it clear to every one of you? Okay. So now I'm going to read the concepts, and then you are going to decide whether we have a weakness. What you will do, make sure that you have a pen or a laptop in your hand, or maybe the computer screen that you have, and you write some points as to why you consider this to be weakness. And I'm also going to give you some of the points which you will be using this. So let me open this question. Just a minute. सेम है ना, पार्ट बी में भी कोई और रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, तो मेमो ही है. ऊपर वाला चल रहा है. Part A and Part B are singular part of one single question. Sorry. हाँ. Conclusion के बारे में दोबारा मैं भी लिखवाता हूँ. Wait. Just a minute, I'm reading the entire stuff. I have even uploaded the recording of this. I've uploaded the recording as well for your help. Okay. So let me start this now. This is question number 3. 3B, right? Okay. Transcript of an emergency meeting on 20th of July 2002. No, it will be the same. Confidential memo and memo will be same. At CC's head office following protest against construction of a new road in Beetle. Present BV Chief Executive, IB Chairman, AC Risk Manager, PS Consultant. Now, you are not going to find out mistakes or weaknesses in governance. You are not going to find out mistake or weaknesses in governance. You will be finding out mistake or weaknesses in internal control, right? The meeting began at 10 a.m. Bruton opened the meeting by playing the following clip from Beetle News program about a break-in from earlier that specific morning. Presenter. Two protesters were seriously injured last night after they broke into one of the construction site for the new road through the Izindari mountain. The break-in is an escalation of the recent protest against the new road. Protesters have been unhappy that they have not been able to meet with Bruton. BV, CC's chief executive, our reporter, II, is outside the site. Iris, what can you tell us about the break-in and injuries to the protesters? Reporter, it appears that a number of protesters created a diversion outside the entrance while the two security staff on the site investigated. Other protesters broke in elsewhere close to where a break-in was attempted last week. On that occasion, the security staff spotted the protesters and prevented the access. This time, however, two protesters got in. It seems that one collided with a van driven by an employee of CC. The other protesters was apprehended by another CC's employee and was subsequently taken away by police. No representative from CC has made any comment about last night's event, and we have not been able to speak with any of the employees involved. However, as he was led away by the protesters who was arrested, shouted out about the protesters injured by the van. They ran him over. The van deliberately went straight for him and ran him over. End of the clip. So they have shown a clip in this meeting. Brutal. I thought that showing the news report was the best way to brief you on what happened, although Alan has found out more since. Alan, I've spoken to our employees and the staff from Sholan Security, the security firm in Beetle, which we use. It seems that they both went to deal with the protesters at the main entrance. Emina, were there only two security staff on site? Alan, yes. The contract only states that the security post should be manned all the time. Do you find any specific weakness right now? Yes, please. Yes, please write, or let me give you the first option. Inadequate number of staff or inadequate number of guards. Inadequate number of guards. Number one. Were there only two security staff on site? Yes.
Last week you was
Were there only, yes. Were there only two security staff on site? Yes. The contract only said that the security post should be manned all the time. The news report mentioned an attempted break-in last week. Were we told about it? The security staff said that they had reported it to the manager, but no one from Stolen Security appeared to have contacted us. Yes, lack of communication is also one of the biggest weaknesses that we can see right now. You can write, last week incident was not reported to CC's management. Last week incident was not reported to CC's management. Is it clear? Are you all with me? All online students? I hope so. You are all ears right now. Brutal. What more do we know? What more do we know about what happened once the protest got in? The protesters who was injured ran across an unlit service road and the van collided with him. Can you identify some of the weakness over here? What do you mean by unlit? Unlit means there was less light. Unlit means that the total number of lights should have been more. There was a visibility issue. So you can write over here, lightning was not sufficient. Lightning was not sufficient. The protesters who was injured ran across an unlit service road and the van collided with him. Should there have been lit better? Apparently, Alan, apparently lightning was one of the things which picked up by Lee Kurata, our health and safety manager, when he visited the site 2 months ago. Staff said that the lightning was going to be fixed before the internal audit visit planned next week. Why isn't Lee here? Lee have been sick for last 6 weeks. We have to get a temporary replacement in now to fill the gap caused by the Lee's absence. Emena, did Lee submit his report on the site before he went sick? Bruton, I did receive it, but the points were generally minor. We have had so much else to discuss at the board meeting recently that I haven't had a chance to report to the health and safety. Can you identify another weakness relating to Lee?
Again,
There was no proper. Who was Lee actually? He was the health and safety manager. There was no health and safety manager for last 6 months. So you can write that, sorry, for last 6 weeks. So proper staff recruitment or temporary staff recruitment of a health and safety manager was not done. What more?
तो एक तो ये होगा कि हमारे डांसिंग सब सेटिंग है और इसके बाद हमारे ये भी है कि हमने इस चीज को प्रॉपर्ली
उसी में कवर हो जाएगा मैं साथ. What more do we know about the protesters who collided with the van? Alan, I haven't spoken to the van driver yet, but I have spoken to the security staff who chased the protester. He didn't see the collision, only the aftermath. Emena, how about the protesters who claim to have seen his friend being run over? Alan, I'm not sure whether he would have been able to see clearly what happened as the lighting was so poor. He had also fallen over a patch of oil. Can you identify one of the most important weakness right now?
Yes, sir.
G.
Oil.
There was spillage of oil. So you can write unclean patch of oil or spillage of oil on the roads of Himena. This is also a weakness, right? Then you must have written no health and safety manager since last 6 weeks. And another weakness, let me read it for you. Another weakness that I can identify over here is, let me read it from here. You can see my cursor. Did Lee submit his report on the site before he went sick? I did receive it, but the point was generally minor. We had so much else to discuss with the board meeting recently that I haven't had a chance to report on health and safety. So the health and safety report was not being brought into the company's notice. Or health and safety report was not being discussed at both meeting 6 weeks before. अच्छा मुझे लगा कि आप वो कह रहे हो कि वो सिक वाली बात क्लिकिंग यस
कौन सा है प्रोटेस्टर का एक ग्रुप क्या रहा था कि देखा है तो कैमरे नहीं
ये तो अजम्पशन है ना यहाँ लिखा हुआ नहीं है कैमरे आई अज्यूम के मे बी ऐसा हो सकता है बट there are obvious 6 points and out of those 6 points you need to write 5 or 4 so it's okay if you go with that. I haven't spoken to the van driver yet, but I have spoken to the security guard who say, however, okay, Alan, I'm not sure whether he would have, I'm reading from here. I'm not sure whether he would have been able to see clearly what happened as the lightning was so poor. He would have fallen on a patch of oil, which hadn't been mopped up. This was why the security guard was able to catch up with him. Now he's justifying that not being mop up was a better option or a better part that because of this, security guard were able to catch these protesters. Emena, you told me earlier, Bruton, that our lawyer has advised us not to make any statement, that we are responsible, and that the police and health and safety authorities will be looking at the site over the next few days. Bruton, that's all correct. Of course, we shouldn't admit any responsibilities for injuries. I'll be flying out of Beetle this afternoon. When I get out there, I'll issue a statement to the press saying that we regret the injury, but the protesters who trespass our on building site have only themselves to blame for. We'll ensure that the site is tidied up, lights fully on, etc. I'll also speak to the staff there and make sure that they are all saying the same thing. They'll also get a hardship bonus, right? Bribe is regarded as a bonus. Now you can identify this as a weakness as well, that he is bribing in the name of hardship bonus. Ethical, yes, ethical. Bonus because of all the stress they had last night. I'm fed up with these protesters and the way they are disrupting this contract. Bruton and Allen left the meeting. Emina and Pet continue a private conversation. Emina, I'm worried about what Bruton will say and do when he is in Beetle and his attitude on the issue we have discussed. Can you send me a memo before Bruton goes to Beetle, setting your views? You can be as frank as you like. I shall keep the memo confidential. So the heading of the memo will be confidential memo rather than writing memo. Secretive memo, confidential memo. These are going to be the heading of your memo. I'm also not happy generally with how risk has been managed and control has been operating. I would like you to draft me a summary of the control weaknesses and how they should be remedied. I want the board to see quickly and clearly what problems are and what we must do. So I guess this is one of the most evident questions. Now, let's discuss the weakness impact as well. And then we are going to go through the control. So I'm giving you ample amount of time. In fact, before starting this, we can have some 5 minutes of namaz break, and you can come back and you can start writing immediately once you go for the namaz break. You have to write this question. I'm going to time you out. Right now, it's 7:34 in my watch. So how many minutes for this? How many? No, only requirement B. So it means 18 marks multiplied by 1.8. 18 marks multiplied by 1.8 minutes. So you have 32.4 minutes. This means that I'm going to give you time till 8:15. I'm giving you time till 8:15. And after that, we are going to start today's class part, right? So you can have your namaz break and then start doing your answer till 8:15. You'll be having time to answer me this specific question. Make sure that you time yourself very well and give me a best answer out of it so that your confidence also boosts. Okay, I hope so. You all must have started writing, and you guys are about to end your answers. है ना? Kindly please start writing. Okay, so now I'm going to read a good answer, right? One of our students have written this answer, so presumably it seems to be a good answer. Maybe. Is it रखनी है आपने? I'm reading a good answer in front of you. Yes, I have received your answers on WhatsApp and I will check them. Let me read an answer that one of my students have written over here. One of the control weakness identified in this exhibit of the meeting is that there were only two guards on the site, which made the break-in rather easy for the protesters. Right? A good way of storytelling. A good way to start your answer. If they were increased, now this could have been a recommendation because she has written the answer in paragraphic form. So again, my recommendation is to write in columnar, but it's up to you. You won't be losing marks if you write them in paragraphs. If there were increased security at the site, the incident would have been easily avoided. The protesters were not something out of the blue, but was an extreme reaction to the ignorance of the CC's company and something. If there were increased security at the site, the incident would have been easily avoided. The protesters were not something out of the blue, but was an extreme reaction of the ignorance of CC and its CEO. There was also break-in attempt in the site last week. After this incident, the security should have been increased, and the guard should have been on high alert ever since the incident. But due to no action being taken about it, it resulted in a successful attempt last night. Look at the storytelling. The way she is telling the story, a good answer. Again, the break-in is a sort of an encouragement or a win for the protester. This line I'm reading this once again. The break-in is sort of an encouragement or a win for the protester, who must now be confident to take a further more dangerous and costly action against the company in the name of the protest. लिखने वाले का अंदाज़े बयान है. Very good answer. Last week it was two protesters. Next time maybe a mob causing more casualties. The security team of the company in Beetle should be contacted immediately, and the reason for not providing enough guard despite the security threat should be investigated by the CC's company. Moreover, maybe the security company hired by a CC company is cheap and not competent enough to deal with the situation, since the guard were so easy to distract to the protesters. The Sholan security company, ये थोड़ा सा इसको change लो. थोड़े दो लाइन हो ये जो पैराग्राफ है ना ये मजेदार नहीं. The Shonen Security Company did not even bother contacting the CC company after such a major incident, which injured human life and caused a news over the national television. This reflects their carelessness attitude towards their business and client. The CC company should reconsider hiring other security companies which might help. Again, she is not saying that they should hire a new company. She is saying that they should reconsider hiring other security company which might help them to avoid such incidents again in the future. There were several health and safety concerns at the site, like the lighting was not proper on road, increasing the chances of road accident as it did during the break-in. Connection of sentences and construction of sentences is one of the most important things that is going to gain you good marks. इन्होंने भी इतने टाइम में लिखे ठीक है थोड़ा सा you have to be more specific and connection with the scenario plus sentence construction. See, it seems like I'm reading an entire story. There is no chances of me identifying a problematic area in this question, even though I did so. But that problematic area is better than your answers as well. Even the problematic paragraph is better. I'm not demotivating you, but that problematic paragraph is better than your answer. Right? Do you get this? Again, let me read this. I feel like reading this answer. These weaknesses, there were several health and safety concerns at the site, like the lighting was not proper on the road, increasing the chances of road accident as it did during the break-in. There was oil spillage too. These weaknesses were identified 2 months ago, but no action have been taken by the company to resolve these yet. This can be blamed on the either Lee Kurata, the health and safety manager, or the organizational structure of the company. See, she is not writing the individual names, despite she have written one of them, but the organizational structure of the company. One of the bestest way of, she's even trying to be frank and trying to be direct. Along with this, she is writing that, okay, we should blame the organizational structure. No name has been written. If I would have been writing this answer, I would have written, okay, CEO should be blamed, chairman should be blamed, Falan should be blamed. But over here, the best way of writing this answer is that the organizational structure should be blamed for such an incident of the company, that as the health and security manager was on leave for 6 weeks and no replacement have been found even after the 6 weeks with the company. A very good answer, I must say, right? But one problem, Kinza, that I can see right now, and it's one of the biggest problems. I guess there is some technical issue. Just give me 2 minutes. number. Okay. No, yes. Let's resume. Let's resume. Actually, I was reading an answer. Uh, I was reading an answer, so that is why I was just trying to explain the mistakes to that person in her answer. Right? Let's move forward. And I hope so you all must have attempted this question, and now you guys are more confident enough that this answer seems to be a good one. So let's start the today's part, and Vinay, we also have a remaining part which relates to internal audit, I guess. Okay, so internal audit, let's just quickly go through the internal audit functionalities. Uh, Kinza, I'll talk to you about this. हम बात करेंगे. Okay, guys, please. Internal audit is an independent objective assurance function established within the organization with the aim of ensuring that the governance process, risk management, and internal control are working effectively. Internal audit is basically a way in which we identify that how the control and its objective are working effectively. Basically, it is the check and balance over the effectiveness of internal control. It says that role of internal auditor. What are the different roles that an internal auditor will be performing? Evaluating internal control. Now, what do you mean by evaluating internal control? Okay, roles and importance of internal audit. Evaluating internal control system. The first thing is that we need to evaluate the internal control system. Reviewing accounting and financial reporting information. So we will have to review the financial accounting and financial reporting system as well. Hello. Then it says reviewing the operational effectiveness and efficiency. Also, you know, these are the self-evident areas of internal control. And you guys know it very well that these internal control functions are being performed by the internal auditor. Reviewing compliance with the laws and regulation. Then there will be some compliance related areas that the internal auditor is going to perform. Review special investigation, that the special investigation, for example, fraud investigation. Recently, around 6 to 7 months before, I was performing a fraud investigation at my corporate sector, and this fraud investigation related to the procurement part of our company. So that fraud investigation was also is also the functionality of internal audit department. Factors to decide whether an organization need an internal audit or not. So do we need to have an internal audit function? The first thing is that it is the legal and regulatory requirement or compliance requirement. It's good to have an internal audit function because early warning of the troublesome or problematic areas are being identified with the help of the internal audit function. Size, complexity, and growth of the organization is being dealt with the internal audit function. The number of employees who are identified and the number of employees will also be one of the most prominent factors as to decide that if we need to have internal audit functions or not. Geographical dispersion means that is multiple or overseas location. If the company is located in 2 to 3 different areas, then this will also have the geographical dispersion will also have the areas relating to the internal audit function. Centralized and decentralized setup. This means that are we working in a centralized organizational structure or are we working in a decentralized organization structure? If we are working in a decentralized organization structure, it is better to have an internal audit function because you know the strategic decisions are being divided into 2 different parts, and there is one specific part which is being managed by the managers or employees of the company. So we need to scrutinize their performances and we need to have an objective view on the performances that is being performed by the managerial level staff taking the decisions. Cost benefit analysis. Cost benefit means that is it costly to hire an internal audit function, or is it something which is acceptable to have an internal audit department? Key risk facing the organization, risk level. What are the key risks that the organization is facing? What are the risk level that the organization is facing? Quality of these control current system and internal controls. What are the qualitative factors of current system and internal controls? An increased frequency of breaches or unacceptable events. If there is an increased frequency of breaches, if there are certain circumstances in which breaches of the organizational hierarchy is being done, this will also have the control weakness impact. Now, uh, again, let's just quickly go through some of the most important 5 factors. Let me read this out for you. What do you mean by analysis? Thoroughly review the given information and investigate reason of the current status. This is what analysis skill is. You need to thoroughly review the situation and investigate why the current situation is happening. For example, hint, explain and comment in detail on a particular set of information data and question appropriateness of any assumption used. So this is how you analyze the situation. Evaluation, assess proposal or argument in a balanced way. Balanced way means giving pros and cons so that it could be used for decision making, demonstrate professional judgment. Hint, mention both pros and cons. Then we have communication skills. Clearly express and convincingly keeping in mind the target audience. For example, you are writing to the chairman of the company, or you are writing to the NED or finance director, or HR director, or general shareholders, general public, etc. Hint, use appropriate format for the report, briefing note. So communication skill is more about format. Communication skill is more about format. It's not about the specific skills being tested over here. You need to have specific formats. For example, presentation slides. You'll be having press releases. You'll be having the briefing notes. You'll be having reports. Commercial acumen, understanding of overall business and external factor to be able to give commercially sound comments and recommendation. Hint, use word like now. Important thing. When you are evaluating on the basis of commercial acumen, make sure that you use word like opportunities. You will use word like these are the following threats that the company might face. The customers might think about this. You need to use words which relate to stakeholders community. Customers will be given with the value of money. The competitors might have an equal chance of competing in the current competition level. The market share will increase. There's a risk that the threats are going to increase. We are going to materialize the opportunities that are available to us. So these are the factors that you are going to use in commercial acumen area. And skepticism. Skepticism means ask question or challenge someone's opinion with facts and figures in order to present the complete picture or issue. Hint, adapt the questioning tone in your answer. Use word like I disagree, it is incorrect, it is not clear, or should be further investigated. My favorite and examiner's favorite word is should be further investigated. So I would rather suggest wherever the situation is, you can use such words in order to justify that you are using. Now, these are the key words that you'll be using. Make sure that you read this handout once again before going into your examination so that you can have a clear picture that, okay, if I'm going through the skepticism skills, what word will I be using? If I'm going through the commercial acumen skills, these are the words that I'm going to go through with, right? Is it clear to everyone? Great. Now, this handout comes to an end. Let me start with the next one. All online students, do you have any question till the time I'm showing you the next handout? Do you have any question, please? Class is till 9:30 or 9:45 maybe. यार ये बकेट सर पे आया हुआ है। खाना। Okay, so
क्लास में लगा दे एक बार
क्या
फिर हम उनसे बात करेंगे और फिर
better this recording is to be uploaded on YouTube as well, and I don't want. Okay, so day 3, basically we are a bit delayed in regard with day 3, and let's look at some of the technical part. Now, these are some of the recommendations that I would want you all to kindly go through them. You need to build an answer. No, you need to build. Case specific is the key. Now, this is the key thing. Case specific is honestly the key to pass the exam. You need to build an answer closer to the case study to fetch most of your marks. One of the best ever advice that I can give you right now. Writing rote learn stuff is of no use. So you don't need to learn anything from my handouts. You will not be learning even a single paragraph from my handout except the formats. You can use knowledge about the topic tested, but it should be adapted, modified, or changed in the context of case study. You can use models, but it should be adapted, modified, and changed in accordance with the case study. Demonstration of technical knowledge or explanation of theory without application will not secure marks in the exam. So if you are demonstrating the technical knowledge and you are not applying it to the scenario, you will not be securing even a single mark. The more case you absorb in your answer, you will be more successful. So this is something Technical marks, how to gain them? To gain technical marks, candidate need to make points that address the requirement of the question, considering the scope of the answers required, and what the question verb indicate should be provided. For example, if the question verb indicate commercial acumen, make sure that you identify some of the stakeholders and the strategies are connected to those stakeholders. If the question word indicate the analysis skills, you need to make sure that you are presenting it in the pros and cons format. If the question word is indicating the evaluation strategy, you need to make sure that you are given a balanced answer in regard with the positive and negative part. If the question word states that you need to give your communication skill, you need to make sure that you are providing a proper format and a proper tone. Is it clear? Apply to the organization featured in the case study. Again, every point lead to the same answer. Are specific to the decision or situations covered in the question's requirement. You need to be very specific to your answers. If the question is asking you to write risk, don't give additional let's suppose stuff to the examiner. You just need to provide them about the risk. If the question says that you need to evaluate the risk, then you need to provide them pros and you need to provide them recommendation or the imposition of that risk on the company. Show the reader why the point is being made. This is one of the most important things. Show the reader, justify. See, many a time, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen in many students who are right now are writing their answer. That is that majority of you are not justifying your answer as to why the point has been made. You just try to make point. Hamza, most important thing for you. You just try to make point and leave it in between there. Why are you saying that the gate should be properly manned? Because this will reduce the risk of protesters or any unwanted person entering into the factory without having authorization. Justify your point. Justification of your point is very necessary. Right? Many answers that I've read right now, what you guys are doing is, you're just reading the answer. You're just writing the answer. Okay, the gate should be properly manned. You need to justify why it should be properly manned, what consequences will it give, and how can we increase the individualities over the gate, or how can we increase the human resources over there. Then fetch up 2 marks. Why is he saying 2 marks? Because 2 marks per valid point. Up to 2 marks were often available for a well-developed point. This is not something written by me, but by the examiner of SBL. So even if you hear something that, okay, you'll be awarded 1 mark or 3 marks by any other person saying that, no, I know SBL examiner is going to award you 1 mark, just tell them to shut up and listen to me. 2 marks will be awarded for 1 valid point. Why is he using the word often? Because there is an anomaly cases in which if you are writing the format if you are writing the answer in the format of control and its weaknesses, you'll be awarded 3 marks. If you're writing the question in the format of control, weakness and recommendation, you'll be awarded 4 marks for 1 valid point. However, candidates are reminded that this will only occur when the candidate had successfully identified, explained a relevant point and has then correctly developed that point. See, identification and explanation is just in your mind. Sorry, identification is in your mind. Explanation is on your paper. So once you identify, you need to have a storytelling exercise that, okay, now this is the point and this will have the following implications. Moving ahead, specific December 2018 comments with example. Weaker candidates saw trigger word or syllabus topics such as integrated reporting and wrote all they knew about this topic without application to the question requirement or highlight own requirement. Highlight was a company name. They started writing anything they knew about integrated reporting without even knowing that, okay, highlight company is not even having that 6 capital scenario. Right? Question number 1B. In addition, general remarks such as the business should undertake more detailed analysis. Now, this is the examiner's viewpoint. You guys are giving a general remark. See, look at this. The business should undertake more detailed analysis. This is not an acceptable remark that you guys are going to give. It's a very generic remark. Be very specific, be very specified, be very precise. Were insufficient to gain a mark. as in question 1B, as this was not specific enough for the need of the finance director in progressing with the decision to invest in Comfy Stay Hotel or not. But they are asking you to identify if we should invest in Comfy Stay Hotel or not, and you are giving a remark the business should undertake more detailed analysis. So why have they hired you? Why are they paying you? You are an external consultant. You are being asked if we should do this or not, if we should invest in this or not. And you are giving us a remark that, okay, if you want to invest, you can. If you don't want to invest, don't invest. This is a very haphazard and a very vague remark. And if you guys are giving such a remark, this is not going to gain you good marks. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Moving forward, let's look at the specific December 2018 comments with example. Similarly, living in the technical framework unnecessarily as the basis for organization and for organizing an answer led many candidates into focusing their answer to fit the framework and crucially providing an answer that was not in the form which was helpful for the recipients. What you guys try to do is you try to fit in your models, whatever model is most appropriate or whatever model come into your mind for the first time, you try to fit in that model in the exam scenario or in the exam question. Trust me, that is not going to gain you good marks, right? Secondly, for example, in question number 1 is some candidate use a sort to structure their answer, which was not particularly useful framework. I have told you many a time that SORT is not a framework, rather TOES is a model that you should be using. He's saying that SORT is not a particular framework, or maybe over here he might have asked you to write the PESTEL model and you are following the answer in the form of SORT one. And as such, presented information weakness in particular, which was not useful for the recipient of the briefing note, and as such presented information weakness in a particular which was not basically now we have not yet read this question, so we cannot understand why is he saying this, but let's move forward. Further, candidate were also just repeated case material. What do you mean by repetition of case material? What same points means? Not same points, but material from the scenario, copy pasting. And for example, in question number 1A did not explain clearly how the factors identified have been important for the success of Highlight in its home country. For example, merely stating that Highlight has invested in a website was insufficient to explain how this had impacted on the success of deal and company. So once we are going to go through this, we will be looking into this. Okay, let's have the last part of the slide, and I would want to read the CC company's examiner comment of question number 3B, right? So that we can have a better insight of what we have written and what the examiner was basically asking us to write. Technical marks, feedback from the examiner, answers document. For the strategic professional examination, now most important, have all your eyes and ears on me and just have your 100% attention in this. For the strategic professional examination, it is not always possible to publish suggested answer which comprehensively, that is something which I've been chanting around during my regular courses, comprehensively cover all the valid point which candidate might make. So there may be some other points as well which are acceptable as the right answer. So even if your answer is not matching, see, that is the reason why I want to see your answer or I want to correct your answer. If you are saying that, okay, sir, I have checked my answer from the back and there are 3 points that I have written in extra and these points are not identified by the examiner, they might, it may be a situation that you have written a valid point. So make sure that if you are writing and if you find such connotations or if you find some such issues, what you can do is you can just provide me your answer or just provide me that part of your answer and just let me get corrected so that at the end I can have you a confident let's suppose review that okay, your answer is also correct and the examiner answer is also obviously perfectly fine. Credit will be given to candidates for points not included in the suggested answer, but which nevertheless are relevant to the requirement in addition. In this integrated case study examination, candidate may reintroduce the point made in other question or part of the question as long as these are made in specific context to the requirement of the question being answered. So yes, you can reintroduce it, but you need to be very much precise and you need to be very much confident enough. The suggested answer presented in the model answer inevitably give much more detail than would be. So just look at this. Many a times I receive such comments. So suggested answer is so long and you are suggesting us to write 1 point for 2 valid marks. So isn't it something which we are going to lose marks? No. See, look at the examiner's comment. The suggested answer presented in the model answer inevitably give much more detail than would be expected from most candidate under examination condition and include most of the obvious point evidence from the case information. So the candidate answer is way too long as compared to the expected answer from you guys. The examination answer is way too long as in comparison with your answer. And even if you write 60 to 50% of the examination's answer or the invigilator's answer, you will be gaining good marks. You'll be in a valid position to pass your exam. The answer are therefore intended to provide a structure of the approach required from the candidate and cover the range of depth of knowledge relating to each task, which might be demonstrated by the most well-prepared and able candidate. They are also intended to support revision and tuition for further examination. So the candidate is also trying to, make us go wealthy. Sorry, the examiner is also trying to make us go wealthy, and he's recommending you to take tuitions from SBH in order to clear your SBL examination, right? Okay, so let's do another exercise, and that is that let me just find out the examiner comment of CC company. फर्दर इन्वेस्टिगेशन बड़ा जेनेरिक हो जाता है. लिख तो सकते हो लेकिन किसी एक हिस्से का सपोर्ट दिखाने के बाद it's seen that the situation in the cons seems to be more reliable. However, if the company need to take further, if the company need to take more evaluated decision, they can have further investigation on such issues.
सर हमें रिपोर्ट प्रोड्यूस
हाँ बोलो बोलो.
इसमें ना रिपोर्ट फॉर्मेट आता है उसमें कंफ्यूजन वो दे रहा था एग्जामिनर.
इवैल्यूएशन में दे रहा हूँ.
नहीं रिपोर्ट फॉर्मेट में कुछ भी लिख रहा था ना. कंफ्यूजन
Okay, let's see. Now, just look at the examiner's comment. Just look at this comment. Okay. Okay, let's look at the examiner's comment. Up to 2 marks for discussion on ethical and or reputational issues. Up to a maximum of 10 marks for ethical and reputational include following. Now we need to go through the part B answer. Let's just quickly go through them. Up to 3 marks for each control weakness explained and its consequences identified and recommendation for improvement made and may include the following. See, it says up to 3 marks are available. Now, the fact is that they have already identified the weaknesses. They know that weakness is a one-liner weakness. So if you are going to identify plus justify the weakness, you'll be awarded 4 marks. And the examiner have also given 5 different parts. So this means that they are awarding. It means up to 3 marks. So let's suppose if you are getting some, if you are not writing some additional points and you're writing justifying your points, you will be awarded 4 marks for one specific valid point. मिल जाएगा. No cover for HS manager. No cover for HNS manager. So there was no cover, staff cover. Were you able to identify this? Yes. Inadequate security staffing. Were you able to identify this? Yes. Not reporting previously attempted break-even. Were you able to identify this? Yes. Not clearing up the oil. Were you able to identify this? Yes. Not implementing recommendation to improve lighting. See, these are all the examiner's viewpoints. And inadequate internal audit monitoring up to a maximum of 14 marks will be awarded. So you can see that you are being awarded with all these factors. If you write at least 5 points out of them, you will be awarded with proper marks. Is it clear to everyone of you? Is it justifiable? Is it clear? Right? So one more thing that I would want to do, and I would want you all to do. This is not marking scheme. Basically, this is the presentation. And yes, we need to go through the. मुझे मिल नहीं रही वो. मैं ज़्यादा तो सही तुम बुरा मान जाओगे. Okay, so let's look at the examiner's comment as well. Let's just quickly go through the examiner's comment. I guess. Is it visible to you all? Okay, what you can do is you can have a listening here. Question number 3B. This question required candidate to assess the control weakness revealed at the meeting. So it has already been revealed. It has already been revealed at the meeting about the break-in at the site and recommended improvements. Professional skill marks are available for evaluation, showing the significance of different type of control weakness and making recommendations that were reasonable for CC and address the weaknesses. The format required was a summary for board review prepared by a consultant. Candidate mostly achieved high technical marks. Do you get this? Why I was saying that this is an easy question? Candidate mostly achieved high technical marks by picking up a number of weaknesses and using the formats of weaknesses, consequences, and recommendation. So using a format of weakness, consequences, and recommendation. Candidate who did not use this format often omitted consequences. Format of weakness, consequences, and recommendation. Candidate who did not use this format often were not able to identify the consequences. So it's better that you follow that format. It's just a recommendation, although he's not going to deduct marks, but I would suggest to follow that specific format. Sometimes answers identify problem without relating to the control weakness. Recommendation were sometimes vague and too focused on the specific issue. For example, clearing up of the oil. Recommendation was to clear up the oil. The oil that was split in, to just send a person who can clear up that oil. Now, this is not my answer. This is the examiner's answer. Just go over there and clear up the oil. No, having a proper arrangement of cleaning the oil on occasional or on, let's suppose, on a timely basis is a good answer. But cleaning up of that specific oil is not a good answer. He's saying that many candidates wrote that, okay, you can send some people and clean up that oil. That is the most appropriate answer that you can do right now. Again, recommendations were sometimes vague or too focused on the specific issue. For example, cleaning up the oil without addressing wider issue. Supervision of site, including inspection for dangerous conditions. This can also be one of the best recommendations, that you can supervise the site or by implementing the inspection of dangerous condition. Few candidates looked at an issue with reviewing the operations of control, such as internal audit, site review, program being inadequate, or review recommendation not being implemented. So there are many candidates who said that there are recommendations that should have been implemented and they are not being implemented. So it's a very generic answer, not going to being awarded with any marks on this, such a answer. Generally, candidates achieve good professional skill marks by clearly following the suggested format. Lack of conciseness limited the marks of some candidates. Many candidates fail to achieve full marks by not providing a balanced evaluation. They were not providing the balanced evaluation that went beyond the immediate problem at the site and considered the wider oversight and review issue. So, you know, he's saying that, again, I'm reading this, by not providing a balanced evaluation that went beyond. See, what many candidates were doing is they were finding solution to that specific problem. For example, there are two people who were there on the site. When the Bruton should come back, there should be three people. You will not be saying that we need three people or four people maybe. What you are going to write is we need people who are properly manned on the specific site. Then there was a suggestion given by a candidate stating that, okay, that specific oil which was split on the road, it should be mopped up. It is a very specific recommendation and you won't be gaining any mark. Then there was a recommendation that, okay, we should have a press release being rewarded. We should right now release a press release and make some comments to the overall stakeholders community. Now, these remarks are not going to gain you any sort of marks. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? Do you get what I'm trying to explain? Okay, so let's just quickly move forward now and let's see what examiner is basically asking you to do. We are going to go through another question. We have some minutes. Maybe we can read it out and I can give you that question as a homework. We have done this. कल का टाइम नहीं है ना. What should be the conclusion of CC company's question? Its conclusion should be that if such weaknesses are identified on timely basis and recommendations are implemented with utmost zeal. I'm repeating, you guys can write it. If you want, you can write your conclusion. If you want, you can write this conclusion. If these weaknesses identified, and dealt on a timely basis, with utmost zeal, and then dealt on timely basis with utmost zeal, this will have a correcting impact. This will have a correcting impact on the overall organizational structure, and thus early warnings of troublesome areas, will be identified and dealt quickly, reducing the chances of occurrence of such events, in near future. बात समझ आई? Do you get this? Now I am sharing one specific. Yes. कर सकते, क्या बात है?
जैसे क्वेश्चन में ये लिखा हुआ है ना consequences वगैरह this identify वैसे impact जो benefits होती है
और यहाँ पे भी ऐसे.
अगर उसको एक recommendation के फॉर्म में.
But this is not a risk question, na? This is a control oriented question. It will be an internal control question.
But अगर risk ये सारे अगर identify
yes, if these risks would have been, yes, you can write that in the conclusion. Yes, if you want to write such thing in conclusion, you can. Good. Yes, but that will not be a specific conclusion paragraph. That will be a conclusion paragraph relating to the overall scenario, just analyzing the overall scenario that this happened. If you want, you can do it. It will give a competitive advantage. You will write a conclusion paragraph without stating a specific heading. But if the examiner says to give conclusion on the above stated requirement, so you will be writing the conclusion paragraph with a specific heading. Right? I hope so it's clear to every one of you, and I hope so you guys are more confident after this class. I'm giving you one specific assignment relating to Nibhe company and one specific assignment relating to the DCS company. Now, what you need to do, you have around 8 to 9 hours before tomorrow's workshop. Go back home, have your dinner, take some rest. It is a small question, just 2 presentation slide of DCS company and a small question relating to Nibhe company. I would request you all to kindly go through them. In tomorrow's class, we will try to do the remaining topics of risk heat map first, and we'll do the Beveridge model and any other thing that is being left within our workshop tenure. We'll try to revise the SFA model. Along with this, I'll be going through two different articles that are being presented by ACCA in tomorrow's class. I'll be providing you the handout for those two articles as well. Make sure that I'll be sharing the agenda for tomorrow's class as well. Make sure that you kindly go through these two different questions. And most probably, if we are done with all these requirements tomorrow, then we will be having an off on Sunday, and I'll be calling you on Monday for a mock exam maybe. Or if not, we'll be having a class on Sunday, but in early afternoon time, so that we can go through the match as well. Right? I hope so that you are now more confident, and I hope so that you will be easily getting the same timing, 6:30 to 9:45, 10 o'clock. No, I'm sharing the question exam, and Josefa, I'll be sharing the question exam with you. You'll have to solve that one.